share this out. Well, actually, let me test it. Let me hold on. How y'all doing this evening? I mean, this morning. Excuse me. How y'all doing? I'm just gonna test the. I just want to test the audio real quick. Let me see if my YouTube account. Okay, there we go. Test it out. I just want to test the audio real quick. Let me see if my. All right, we are good to go. How y'all doing this evening? I mean, this morning. I don't know, man. This daylight saving time thing is messing me up, man. How y'all doing, man? At least in my part of the world, it's morning time. I don't know why I keep saying evening. But how y'all doing, man? This is Uber 186 back again with another live stream, and this one is this one I like this topic, man. Normally I'd be on here talk about some stupid shit going on in the community, but this one's a little bit more. This one's a little bit more, this is more, it's gamer centric. You know what I mean? This is something that us as gamers, we all have different answers. Um, we all, this is a gamer type topic. Nothing, no drama filled bullshit, man. This is just about gamers, right? So I'm gonna set the scene for you guys here. So right now, today's topic is controller tier list, right? So a guy, I'm looking for, I'm looking for his tweet right now. I think I'm on the, I believe I'm on the right page. I want to look at it because there was a guy who made a tier list of of game controllers, right? And his list, for lack of a better word, is garbage. Let me start off the Monopoly thing real quick. We're gonna do new game, just to have something on the just to have something on the screen. Uh, yeah, so yeah, me, I'll put like three people in. Yeah, that I'm always the car. Put hard. And hard as well. Okay, and then we're good to go. Start game. All right, so yeah, so I'm looking for who this guy is. Who I'm trying to look for it. I don't see it here. Now let me do a search real quick. Let me do a roll. 12. So pretty much I'm pretty much gonna be starting off first. So there you go. Um, let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Um, alright, so I'm first. Alright, so okay, there we go. There we go. The person who made this account is on Twitter as uh Teria Bit Gaming, right? Made his list. He or she or her list. I don't know who did this, but they made their tier list, right? And on top of their list, in the S class, which is the top class, is the Xbox 360 controller and the GameCube controller. On the A spot, he had the Xbox. Yeah, sure, I'll buy it. He had the Xbox One. He had the. I think this is the Pro controller. He had both the Pro controller and the Wii U Pro controller on there, and he had the N64 controller in the B tier. So obviously, Wii U, and then in the A tier, in the B tier, he had the Wiimote, the Wii U gamepad, the Super Nintendo controller, the Switch um controller, the one where you put the two Joy Cons together in something in the middle, and the Nintendo controller. Now, this dude, clear as day, is a Nintendo slash Xbox stand, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But on the C list, he has basically every PlayStation controller, and he has some other controllers on there also. So, and then on the D tier, he has the Dreamcast, the uh, the Joy-Con by itself, the OG Xbox, and and I think that's the Atari joystick, right? So his list is trash, right? Let's just point it out. His list is completely trash. And so, and, after that reaction, he got the list blew up. Everybody and their mother making tier lists, right? Myself included. I made one myself, and I'm going to tell you guys what my list is, right? And everyone commenting on it. Even though his list was dog shit, at least it got a good conversation going, at least for a couple hours, as to what has been people's favorite controllers to use over the years, right? And it kind of got a lot of people thinking, just talking about controllers and it's the pluses and negatives of each one. And oh, come on, he's doing an auction already. Come on. Anyone's doing an auction? Oh wait, that's my turn. Alright. I got it for less. That's fine. I don't mind owning electric. Um. So yeah. So it got people talking, and now to me, I'm gonna do. I already made my list. If you log on to my if you look at go to Twitter, follow me Hoobie123. You'll see I'm actually what I'm gonna actually do is I'm gonna have my list pinned to my account, so you guys can see what my list is, what my tier list is. So let me see. Okay, let me look for the picture. There you go. I'm gonna pin this to my account. Give me one moment. Pin the profile. There we go. So you'll see here now. The criteria that I have for my list is one. It has to be a controller that I've used before. It has to be a controller that I've used extensively, right? It's and also it has to be mainline controllers. Now what I mean by that is controllers that normally would be bundled with the console. So, for example, like I'm not gonna use the Xbox One Elite controller because one, I haven't used it, and two, it's not a mainline Xbox controller, right? Like if you buy an Xbox, if you buy, let's say you buy an Xbox One, you're going to get the traditional Xbox controller. You're more than likely you're not gonna get the Elite controller or anything like that, right? And same thing goes for stuff like the PS4 scuff controllers. I'm not. Those aren't included. I let me see what else. Me personally, I wouldn't count the uh the Switch Pro controller or the Wii U Pro controller because I don't think they're included. I don't think they're bundled into any bundles. At least the ones that I've seen, right? And that also includes the Sega Genesis 6-button controller because I don't think that's not a mainline controller for the uh, for the Sega Genesis, right? It's the traditional one. So those are essentially my two criterias. The one, it has to be a mainline controller, and what's the second one? Shit, I forgot. What was my second criteria? Ah, fuck it. Let me just start the list. You know what I mean? Like I don't function as well in the morning as I do any other day. That's why I'm not a morning person. So, anyways, we're gonna start from the top and work our way to the bottom, right? Because I got some smoke for some of these controllers. Alright, so oh yeah, also the other criteria is that it's a controller that I had to have extensive use with. So pretty much any console I've owned, I have to use that controller a lot. So there we go. Alright, so let's start with the top with the very best controllers ever made, right? I have two controllers on this list. The best controllers ever. And what I mean by best controller ever it's a controller that no matter what game you play on that console, the controller is absolutely adequate for that game, right? So let's start with the first one. The first one that I have on here is the Super Nintendo controller, right? The Super Nintendo controller to me is a controller that is it's a revolutionary controller. It's I would probably say outside of it's outside of maybe the DualShock and the I'll give the Xbox 360 controller credit. I would probably say it's those three controllers are like the three most revolutionary controllers ever made. And the reason why I say that is because of the shoulder buttons, right? The first controller that I can remember having shoulder buttons, right? It made playing games like Street Fighter, like fighting game, it made playing fighting games, a breeze at least for me to play. And it was just overall, it's a comfortable controller. And the funny thing is, normally I go to a video game bar, right? I guess they call it a barcade, right? And the two controllers that they have on there throughout some of their selections is this Logitech controller, which is kind of patterned after the Xbox 360 controller, and also they have like these Super Nintendo type controllers. They're not official Super Nintendo controller, but they're pretty much shaped like it, right? I forgot who makes it, but yeah, and the controller, granted, my hands have gotten a little bit bigger over the years, but it's still comfortable to use. Um, to me, it's the best controller. It is the best controller Nintendo's ever made. It just feels comfortable. Like I've always felt comfortable with that controller. Like I said, it was the fact of the controller to play, Street Fighter and fighting games in general, in my opinion. You know what I mean? That was to me that was one of his biggest advantages over the Sega Genesis was the controller for to play fighting games, in my opinion. So I know people may disagree. That's fine, but to me, the Super Nintendo controller to me is number one. On the S tier next to it is specifically the DualShock 2, right? Now, obviously, the first time I ever used a DualShock was during the DualShock was the original PlayStation. And this is a funny story, right? Now, for those of you who may not know, I didn't grow up poor, but I didn't grow up like super rich. We were a typical my parents were typical immigrant parents who rose up to become a middle class family for a while, right? And they always preach about going to school and this and that and stuff like that. And I did that, but I love video games, right? And they weren't too thrilled about that, but it is what it is, right? So my first console ever was the Super Nintendo, and then my second console was the PlayStation. Now, when I bought the PlayStation, we had the traditional PlayStation controller. Fuck this man want. Hold on a second. Let me see. Hmm. Huh. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Alright, fine. Whatever. Fuck it. Oh shit! I just fucked up. Ah, fuck it. Who cares? Nah, I don't care. Anyways, right. So my second console that I ever owned was the original PlayStation controller. Was the original PlayStation, and I had the traditional PlayStation controller. So there were several games that I played that I used. Oh shit! All right, I got Boardwalk. Hell yeah, we're buying that. So so I owned the original PlayStation controller. So it didn't feature for a long time the oh shit I fucked up. It didn't my the games I had didn't feature any rumble. So I never felt the rumble ever like because I didn't have the controller. I didn't have that controller. Then one day I decided to buy the DualShock, right? I decided to buy the DualShock, and there was a game I think I was playing Game Day. I think I was playing Game Day '99. right? Because I had the previous, I had not Game Day '97, so in that one I don't believe that one had Rumble. At least I wouldn't know if it did or not. But this game had Rumble. That was the first game I played on was Game Day '99, right? And the first time I felt the Rumble from coming from the PlayStation, I got scared. I don't know. I don't like it. Just I was just stunned. I'm like, whoa, what? I dropped the controller. I got up and I'm like, what the fuck was that? You know what I mean? I didn't know. I didn't know at the time. I didn't know there was something that was out of my consciousness. I looked it up, and then I see, the thing does Rumble, DualShock. So after I put things together, then I realized that, okay, all right, this is the DualShock One. It rumbles or whatever. So it wasn't a big deal after that. But to me, what made the DualShock One and by proxy DualShock Two so great is that the controller just felt comfortable. I can use it for any game I played on it. I can use it, and everything felt natural. When it was fighters, first person shooters. What other games like RPGs? All that stuff that I had that any game that I had, I can use it, and everything was fine. You know what I mean? There was no game that I felt that the DualShock 2 couldn't play where the controls were like a mess or whatever, right? And that's why I have the DualShock 2 on the S tier because it's again the reason why I have this on my list is because everything about the controller was perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it, and in any game that I played on it, I can use it like that, and it wouldn't be an issue. So there you go. My S tier is the Super Nintendo controller and the DualShock 1/2. Right? On the A tier, I only have one controller on the A tier. And that A tier is the PlayStation 4 controller, the one I'm currently using. Right? Now, after the DualShock 3, they decided to make a change. Um, they have the touchpad, they have the share button, they fixed the triggers. To me, this controller is almost perfect, right? That's why it's the A tier. My only issue there's actually I only have one issue with this controller. My only issue with the controller is the placement of the option and share button, right? Now, to me, the share button has been, in my opinion, the most useful. Buying that too. I'm buying a lot. I have lots and lots of properties. All right, so yeah, my only issue with this controller is the placement of those two buttons, right? Now, like I said, the share button to me has been the most useful feature of any new feature in this generation, at least in my opinion. Now I'm done. Let's go. So so yeah, so like to me, like the functionality of the share button has been fantastic. Um, but the placement of the share and option button to me is where is really my only issue because when you press it, I couldn't accidentally press the touchpad, and to be honest with you, I don't have that big of an issue with the touchpad. As long as developers use it only as a select button, I'm cool with that, man. If you have to press it to open up a map, perfectly fine with it. It's that convenient, right? It's very convenient, and having to touch one side or the other, shit. Okay, what do you want, buddy? Hold on a second. Let me see what this person wants. $300. I mean, I need money. Hold on. Let's Do I have anything I want? No. All right, let's rate the stakes. 350. Okay. Okay. All right. So yeah. So pretty much the placement of the option and share button are the ones are the, really the only thing that I have an issue with. Like I said, the touchpad, as long as it's only used for a select, I'm perfectly fine with that. The triggers feel great. The L1, L2 feel great as normal. Face button is great. The analog sticks are very comfortable. Much more comfortable than the much more comfortable than the not great. Much more comfortable than the PS3 ones. I don't want to hook. We're no. Let me see. Okay, first things first. Here's what we're gonna do, buddy. I'll give you both my trains. No, no, no. Wait. What am I doing? Don't be stupid, Huey. Don't be stupid. Uh, no, no. Ooh. Okay. All right. I'll deal with that later. I'll deal with that later. All right. So yeah, the thumbstick feels much more comfortable than it was on the DualShock 3. Yeah, so pretty much everything about this controller is A1, man. D-pad was great. The controller overall is great. It's the best controller this generation, and that's pretty much how I feel. That's pretty much how I feel about it. So yeah, so you had the DualShock 4, which is the only controller on my A tier. It's the only controller there. Now let's go with the B tier. We're gonna start with the original PlayStation controller, like the one without the stick. It's just the basic buttons, right? Like I said, it is an offshoot of the Super Nintendo controller. Had the only difference is it had the little the grips that go downward. Nothing. Oh, I don't think there's really anything ultimately wrong with it. It's just that the DualShock felt better. Oh, he's mortgaging. Okay. Oh wow. Okay. 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 So all right. So yeah. So nothing ultimately wrong with the PS1 controller. It's just that I feel like the DualShock was just the superior controller for that time, right? So you have that. So nothing bad about it. I mean, like typical controller, perfectly fine. The Xbox 360 controller I have on the B tier as well. Now, the Xbox 360 controller to me is a great controller, right? Feels great. It would be number one. It would be A, maybe even an S tier if it wasn't for that awful D-pad. That D-pad is garbage, absolutely garbage. And to me, the vast majority of the time, hopefully I didn't land on fireplace, did I? You've got to be shitting me. Fuck, man. Ah, I can deal. Damn. Alright, anyways. Yeah, so that control that D-pad and when it comes to fighting games, I traditionally only use the D-pad, right? I don't use the joystick. I've never been into, on using the analog sticks or joysticks for that matter. I've always been more of a D-pad kind of guy, and it makes it tough when the D-pad is just garbage on it. Like to me, the problem with the Xbox 360 D-pad is that one, the D-pad were connected to each other. Like with the PlayStation controller, there's always space between each directional pad, each directional button, right? So you have left, right, up, down, right? And normally there are some controllers that is just that by itself, like with just that by itself, and there's some that are like they have the D-pad enclosed together. So you're still pressing down, but there's like padding in between down and right or down and left or whatever, right? So if you look at if you look at the Nintendo D-pad, is like a T, right? It's like a T shape, right? They have the directional buttons connected with each other, right? The PlayStation controller is where it's shaped like a T, but in the middle they're not connected, or like both vertically and vertically they're not connected, right? with the D-pad for the Xbox 360, with Xbox 360, it's completely together. And plus, with that, they also had a little bit of some type of like a, I don't know what you would call it, like the D-pad, it can move all together, right? And to me, that controller setup was just not good. Like I hated that controller. I hated that D-pad setup because it made the only thing it made doing things easy was doing like 360 moves, right? Like Zangief's spinning power driver. It made those moves easier, but doing like Hadoukens and Shoryukens and stuff like that just made it tough. Like it just made it hard. It was not a comfortable controller to use when it comes to fighting games. And that's what I game. That's my those are the games that I play mostly is fighting games. And but outside of that, everything else about the controller was perfectly fine. You know what I mean? Like it had the triggers were great. The best, I guess you could say, the best group of triggers that I've ever used. I mean, if that's a thing. Um, L1, LB, RB felt fine. Like playing Call of Duty on to me, outside of PC, it's the most definitive console to play Call of Duty in, which is the Xbox 360 controller. And to be honest with you, the Xbox 360 controller is the controller that popularized that ace. I don't know what they call it. What do they call it when the joypad is like not on the same side? I forgot what it's called. Let me look it up real quick. I think it's asymmetric. Okay, let me see. Yeah, so it has an asymmetric joystick, which when you look at PC with controllers made for PC or knockoff controllers, most of them have the um asymmetric arc to it, and you got to admit, man, Microsoft did a great job designing that controller. They just fucked up on the D-pad. That's pretty much it, but it popularized that asymmetric joypad style, and I give him props for that. You gotta give him props for that. So so yeah, and along with the Xbox 360 controller, I also had the Xbox One controller on there also, and like I said, pretty much the same thing. The controller feels good. Oh, all right. So I got the controller, I got the set naturally. I just gotta make some money. Should I? Nah, I'm good. So yeah, so I had the 360 controller, the Xbox One controller on there also. I have two of these Xbox One controllers. For the most part, the controller feels good. I think when it comes to like Rumble, it does feature better Rumble than the PS4. The joysticks feel great. The face buttons, they feel good. They feel okay. I prefer the face buttons on the PS4. Like the buttons on the Xbox One, they have like a glossiness to them. Like they have like a weird gloss shape to them. And I prefer the flat. I prefer the flatness of the PS4 controller. But the only issue I have with this controller, well, one, it has battery. Like for fuck's sakes, man. Like Microsoft, can we make our traditional batteries, our traditional controllers, with no batteries? But the only thing about the Xbox One controller I don't like is the the RB and LB buttons. They feel rigid to me. Like they feel like it feels like you're not pressing them all the way down, right? Like, it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like you're yeah, it doesn't feel like you're pressing them all the way. It just feels weird to me. Um, at least with I know they had revisions like do I have a black controller that feels more rigid than the white one. So the white one I believe is the white one is the one that came with the S. That one feels a little bit better. The black one I bought on I think I bought that online. I got it for like 13 bucks. So I saved a lot of money on it. But like I said, the controller feels good. Everything about it is fine except for the LB and RB buttons. I don't like those. But other than that, Everything else feels fine, right? I just prefer the PS4 controller. So, all right, so we're gonna go to the C tier. The C tier are normally controllers that I got used to, right? Not controllers that I oh, sorry. Not controllers that I would not my preferred controllers, but it is controllers that I've gotten used to. And oh shit. Okay, I know it's my turn. Yeah, so the controllers that I have on this list is the original Nintendo controller. Now, like you said, I grew up. My first controller was the Super Nintendo controller, but obviously in the past, I've used the Nintendo. Before I got my first Super Nintendo, I used the Nintendo a lot, and the controller like it's an old controller, so I don't want to put too much I don't want to put too much slander on it. It's an old controller. It's pretty much your basic controller. Two buttons, start, select, D-pad. That's pretty much it. Like nothing. There ain't nothing. I don't really have much else to say about it. It's a small controller, like you said. But if for certain games like Mario, I can play it. I can use it. So, there you go. Now this one's a little bit controversial, I will say, because this controller is a controller that's beloved by a lot of people. Now I've had people the only people there's only been like a few people who disagree with me on my list, and their biggest disagreement comes from this controller, right? I have a friend who I know in the real who had a problem with my placement of the controller. I know some other people on Twitter had issues with my placement on there, and I will say this: the GameCube controller is it like the Wavebird GameCube controller is the first controller that I use that. Hmm, yeah, we're gonna put that in auction. I'll bid $10. So, yeah, so the GameCube controller is the only controller that I have on here that people had a real issue with. Now, let me start off by saying this, right? The controller functions well enough, right? I don't have a major issue with how it functions. Um, I don't have a major issue with how it functions, right? All the buttons work fine, except for the I didn't like they had one. I think the controller had like one it had one trigger button in the back that I did not like. But everything else, it felt fine to an extent. My biggest issue with that fucking controller is the way that the controller is shaped, right? It to me, it had an asymmetric view, right? It had asymmetric joysticks, and to me, like I just hated the way it was shaped. I didn't like the way it was shaped. The face buttons to me are god awful. I hate the way they shaped the oh, fuck out of here. I got spam. Yeah, I just hated the way the face buttons are structured. They had the A button and the big green A button. You had the B button, and then you had the X and Y button, all surrounding the A button. To me, I hated that setup. I hated because it painful all the time. I tried to press X, but I'm pressing A. I'm trying to press B, but I'm pressing A. If I try to press Y, I'm pressing A. Garbage, 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 garbage setup. I hated it. I hated it. I got used to it. I got used to it, but I hated it. I didn't like it. You know what I mean? Like, and I know just because you guys like to play Smash on it, doesn't make that controller great. You know what I mean? And yes, it is a testament to the controller that after all these years and all these Smash games, people prefer to use the GameCube controller as their main controller. That's cute. But when it comes to playing other games on it, it was a pain in the ass to play most of the time. Right? That's why I didn't play Madden on there. That's why I didn't play any type of sports games on there. Day of Reckoning, Mario Kart, games like that. And the controller, and like I said, the functionality is fine. And like I said, the Wavebird is the was the only wireless controller that I used, at least back then, that was perfect. That was perfect for it, because back then you had like companies like Pelican and Mad Cats. They would make wireless controllers, and those controllers would be garbage. Those controllers would be absolutely garbage. They would either not work functionally all the time, or they would just break. So so when Nintendo introduced the Wavebird, it was a great breakthrough, right? And the reason why I didn't include the Wavebird, because like I said, it's not a, I mean, I don't want to say necessarily that it was a traditional controller, but it wasn't the it's not the main controller for that console. At least in my opinion. At least I don't think it is. So like I said, like I said, like the game controller, like I said, it's very functional, but there are just those face buttons. I hated those face buttons so much. Also on the C tier is the OG Xbox controller. I'm not talking about the S, even though I would put the S in the same category. Oh yes, let's go, houses galore. Let's go. Let's build some property. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. All right, so the OG Xbox controller, the big one, the big boy. Right, I actually bought the recreation of it from Hyperlink. Oh shit. No, that's not Hyperkin, the Duke controller, right? I bought the big old one, right? Now, I didn't own an Xbox traditionally. Like my friend let me borrow his modded Xbox for a long time, right? And the controller and the Duke controller is a big controller, right? It was a very big controller, especially around the time. To me, it's the fucking thing's still too big, for most people. It's a big fucking controller. But for some reason, somehow, some way, I got used to it. You know what I mean? I played a lot of games on there, and I feel okay with it at this point in time. To me, my biggest issue with the controller is that it also had, like, instead of having it had the buttons, the face buttons, right? Which are too close together in my opinion. They're too close together. It also had, I think it also had a start and back button, which is actually not on this. Is not on this version. They put it somewhere else. They kind of replaced it with the traditional double box and line button that's on the 360 now, on the Xbox One now. Um, but yeah, so like it was a controller that was too big for me, but I got used to it, right? And I guess it kind of coincided with me kind of like growing up or whatever, because I think I was like 17 when the first time I used it, and you get used to it after a while. You get used to it, and I bought the Hyperkin one just for pure nostalgia. Like I just love I just love trying to use that controller. So okay, so I also do include the S in that same category. So, and on the last controller I have on the C tier is actually the lowest ranking PlayStation controller I have, and that's the PS3 controller. Now, for those of you who don't know, when the PS3 first came out, it didn't have a DualShock. It didn't come with a DualShock. It came with a traditional. It came with a PlayStation 6-axis controller. Now, for what the main gimmick with the 6-axis controller was that it had like this weird motion thing where you would take the controller and move it side to side with your hand, and while you can, like, I remember doing this with what's that game called? Shit, what's that game called with that girl? Heavenly Sword, right? Heavenly Sword had this thing where, let's say if you're shooting a cannon, you can kind of guide the ball from side to side to hit like targets and shit like that. And to me, the six-axis controller was completely another garbage. Completely another garbage. Oh, son of a bitch. So yeah, so it was completely another garbage. Then I probably like a year into his life cycle, he came out with the DualShock 3. Now DualShock 3 to me is a controller that's perfect. It's a good controller, right? I'm not gonna say it's great. It's definitely not great. It's a good controller. I can use it for most games. I can even play like first-person shooters on there, even though it wasn't ideal. Um, but I can use the controller. And but the biggest problem I had with the PS3 controller was those triggers. Those triggers were god awful. And the main reason why they were god awful is every time I put the controller down, it would normally what would happen is it would prompt the button response, right? So I put it down, and it'll trigger like either L or an action that is pressed on RB and LB, and that don't and thankfully that doesn't happen now with my PS4, and it really didn't happen with my DualShock 1 and 2s. It only that PS3 controller it happened to. And to be completely honest with you, let me do this turn here. And to be completely honest with you, man, after all this time using the DualShock 4, going backwards going backwards to a DualShock 3 is painful. It's so painful because I don't know. There's something about it that just doesn't feel right anymore. It doesn't have the same weight to it. It just doesn't have the same feeling to it. And to me, any controller gets knocked points if you can't really adjust to if you can't go backwards to use it. Right? If let's say if you use if you it don't feel comfortable anymore. Like like I said, with the Super Nintendo controller. Where the fuck did I land to? Oh god. 500. Let me see. Like I said, like with the Super Nintendo controller, I can go back to that controller and feel perfectly fine using that controller, right? I don't feel the same way about I don't feel the same way about the. Oh, let me see. Is there anything else I can mortgage? Yeah, I don't feel the same way about the DualShock 3. It's hard to go back. It's hard to go back, man. It's hard to go back, man, and that's why that controller gets docked points. And let's see. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, it's hard to go back. 'Cause I can't use that controller. I can't use that controller anymore. So yeah, so that's why the DualShock 3 is on there. I don't have, like I said, I don't have a major issue with the controller. You know what I mean? Like I can use it, but yeah, man, like, it like nah, I can't do it, can't do it, can't do it. It's low on there for a reason. Now, I only have 3 controllers left on my list. The D tier has two controllers on it, and both those controllers are Sega controllers, right? Now this is gonna be a little bit controversial because like I know there's a lot of people who love Sega, and I like Sega too. Not as much as you guys do, but I like Sega too, right? But I gotta keep it real with you. The first controller I have on this list is the Sega Genesis controller. To me, the Sega Genesis controller was made only to play Sonic and a couple other games, right? Having the three, and I know they had a 6-button controller, like I mentioned earlier. I get that, but the controller that most of the time that the console came with is that traditional 3-button controller. And to me, like the controller felt fine. Like it was. I believe it was bigger than the Super Nintendo controller. It was like I said, it was. Oh, he's done. Oh, he's done. Yeah, he's done. Damn. All right, so yeah, so pretty much like I said, the controller to be honest with you, man, the controller was only used for a specific amount of games. It was super annoying to play fighting games on there because it only having 3 buttons. There are a lot of other games that I felt would have been beneficial if it had more fucking buttons on there. So to me, like I said, it's definitely not a bad controller. But I'm playing Prime Time. You know what I mean? And I remember I forgot what other button they used as a like obviously when you're playing football games, you can have up to five receivers. And I don't remember what because it was a long time since I played the game. I don't remember what their criteria was for for having more buttons than the three buttons that you had. The three, yeah, I don't remember. But like I said, to me the too few buttons. Like this, that was just my biggest issue with the too few buttons. And the other controller I have on there was the Dreamcast controller. Now I didn't have a Sega. I actually never used a Sega Genesis, so I don't know. So I don't know what how the like I don't really know how the controller feels or anything like that. So I have the Dreamcast controller as another controller under D tier. Now functionality wise, it was fine. Like nothing, like I said, there was nothing really wrong with the controller per se. To me, my biggest problem with the controller is that it was there was wasted space on there, like wasted space. There's I don't want that shit. Let me drive the price. Let me drive it up. No, no. So like, yeah, so like to me, there's just too much wasted space on the controller. Like there's no, like I said, like it has one joystick, it has a D-pad, which is the traditional Nintendo style D-pad, and it had the four buttons. But the controller was too big for that. There's so much wasted space on there. The controller is too big, and it had a screen on there, which I don't know what necessarily what the screen was there for, because when I put when I the main my main purposes for using the Dreamcast controller was playing burn games. So it didn't come with that. So we rarely use that functionality. But to me there's just so much wasted space on there. It doesn't for no reason. There's so much wasted space there for no reason because like I said, it was too big. The controller was too big for no reason. Was big for no reason because it had all this wasted space and a screen that really didn't benefit. It ultimately didn't really benefit you playing games anyway. So like I said, like the controller is fine. This doesn't do nothing for me. The last controller on this list and on the F tier is the N64 controller. Now this controller is the worst. Not only is it the worst all around controller on the list, is the most poorly designed controller on there, and ultimately it's just a bad controller. It's just a bad controller, right? It has the three grip set on there for cause so it had the joystick in the middle, which is flimsy as fuck, absolutely flimsy. It had D-pad on the other side of the grip. It had four face buttons, and then it had two extra buttons on the side, and a green and a blue button. And to me, it's just too much. It's too much. Like it is just too much. It just made playing games on there annoying. Absolutely annoying. Give me one second. I gotta get to the bathroom. All right. All right. I'm back. Yeah, like I said, like to me, the N64 controller, no good, man. Literally, like you're. I imagine that the same functionality. If I land on a Park Place or Boardwalk, I'm screwed. Whatever. So yeah, so I mean, I figure like when I remember when I can visualize what not pirates pilots are doing controller planes where they have to move their hands from side to side from different place to different place. That's how I felt using that fucking N64 controller going from one. Oh yeah, he's still in jail. Going from one side of the grip from the middle grip to the outer grip. This is absolutely garbage setup, man. Absolutely garbage. And there's some people who are defending this shit, man. Like that controller is garbage, man. Like outside of like wrestling games, what are you what are you using what are the use what is it for? Like this terrible, man. Like at least in my opinion. Like I didn't like the controller. So I mean that's my tier list. Like I said, like I said, the controller that I put on there are a controller that I had extensive use with. So, so I had, like I pretty much have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 controllers on the list, right? So like I said, I didn't include the Sega Genesis, a Sega Saturn. 'Cause I don't have a lot of experience with the Sega Saturn. It doesn't feature none of the nunchucks or any of the other Nintendo controller that was out there. You know what I mean? To me, it just, like I said, ultimately, that's my list. And like I said, it was it's good to talk. It's good to talk about. It's good to talk about this because it's good to talk about this because like I said, in this gaming topic, we don't really get to talk about stuff like this, right? Like we don't get to talk about like gaming related stuff, right? We only talk about the stupid shit that goes on in this community, and it is good to just have a conversation about gaming, about just pure gaming, right? And our experiences and our history and stuff like that with these controllers. Because outside of games, a controller is a big deal when it comes to how you enjoy your games, right? How you enjoy gaming, right? Like I said, um, it was the main reason why I chose a Super Nintendo over a Sega Genesis. It was the main reason why I chose a PlayStation over a N64. And ultimately, man, like it just it is what it is. I mean, like I said, I'm very happy that this conversation came up. It allowed me to go through memory lane and allowed me to share this with all the whole gaming community. So that's pretty much it. This will be 186. Um, hopefully I don't lose this one. But anyway, this will be 186. I'm out. Peace.